All right, I'm here with Ian Fourie, the founder of Pluto LMS. Ian, how you doing today?
Good to meet you, Andrew. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. For those that may not know you, do you want to give just a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ian, and I was born in Cape Town, South Africa. And yeah, schooled here my whole life, studied at the University of Cape Town over here. So born and bred Cape Town, and proud to be South African. And it's been such an amazing experience just meeting new people. So really excited for this podcast.
Right on. Well, let's talk about Pluto LMS. Tell me about it. What does it do? What problem does it solve? Let's start there.
Yeah, so Pluto LMS, it's a learning management system, as per the name. So we've pivoted many times in terms of the customer profile, but essentially what it does is enable you to do online training. So corporate training in particular, corporates, so HR teams, training teams, they can upload their material to our platform. They can distribute the training to employees. There's quite extensive analytics built into the platform, content creation, user management, course management, and quite a few integrations. So, in a nutshell, we're just helping streamline corporate training, centralizing all the information such as SOPs, different training videos, etc., to help training teams onboard new staff and keep continuous education going at organizations.
Nice. I like that. Like, where'd you get the idea for this? Did you work at a large company before and you saw it was really unorganized, or have you used like another element? Like, I don't think this is a product a lot of entrepreneurs go like, I'm super excited to build a corporate SOP LMS.
The journey started with a friend, Keaton Saunders. He actually asked me to go 50-50 into a small tutoring business. We weren't the tutors, but we both studied engineering. So I studied civil engineering. And at the time, we thought, hey, it's a little bit of extra pocket money. We basically took a commission from distributing tutors and finding clients for them. It was quite a lot of manual work, a lot of phone calls and things like that. I just realized it wasn't really that scalable, but I really was passionate about education in particular and, helping people grow their knowledge. And the idea came about where I kind of realized that the university tuition was quite expensive. And a lot of that went to things like maintenance of the buildings, paying for water, electricity, fields, rental, etc. But a smaller portion towards the actual material. So I thought, well, if the material is online, I felt like we were inevitably going to go online, and this was back in about 2017 or so. The idea came about. So from there, just looked at looking at building a learning management system and trying to make it as smooth as possible for training to be done online, essentially.
Nice. I love that. How did you get the first customers?
So also through a friend, through networking. So his name is Matthew Henschel. He actually referred our customer to us, and I went to go meet them. And funny enough, I went to go meet them. It was a Zoom call because they were from the UK. I'm from South Africa. Had a Zoom call, so that was the first customer that we had. And then that same person, he's also in the edtech space. He also referred another customer. So the first two customers just purely came from a referral, essentially.
Nice. And then with your first customers, was it like a completed product? Was it an MVP that they were signing up for? Were they thrilled with it? Was there a lot of buzz?
At the time, it was whatever they needed to be, built. It was very custom, almost hacked together to build a custom product for them to make sure that they were satisfied with it. I was still working at the time as a full-time engineer, and I didn't really have much capacity to build, but this was evenings and weekends. I was doing this on a part-time basis, really. So managing two customers, I had no employees. So it was just me, completely bootstrapped. So really just tried to build. When they sent through a support ticket, it was basically, yes, we've got that, build, and then respond, which was
Nice.
very, very, very fast.
Nice. And then how did you get like the next customers after that? You got the first one from referral. Were you doing like just marketing with inbound leads, or were you doing outbound sales? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, so everything was organic initially. So just, making sure the website was up to date, SEO, leads that came in from Google, Google search. and I also integrated with Zapier. So adding Pluto to the Zapier marketplace brought in a few leads there. So they would type into Zapier LMS and then we would pop up because of the name. So they would come through that.
Nice.
So in the early days, everything was just done organically. So I didn't really have the cash to inject into paid marketing.
Nice. I like that. It sounds like a scrappy go to market. You're just getting leads anywhere you could find them.
Quite literally.
Nice. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. Was there a moment where you kind of sat back and you're like, "Oh man, I got product market fit. This is awesome." Like, was there a moment where like really felt like things started to work?
So one never wants to celebrate, COVID and the pandemic, but it was really hard and difficult to convince people to, do training online because everything was done in person, classroom style training. So when COVID hit, it forced people to go online. And it was just in the right position at the right time to have that solution. And a lot of inbound traffic started coming in from that point. So from that perspective, product market fit kind of just came to me instead of the other way around. Everything was very scrappy in the beginning. So over time, it really developed. And eventually, where I started to find the right customer profile, I started to build for that customer profile, started to market for that customer profile. And that was corporate training. So in the beginning, it was just scrappy. And then it started to consolidate over time.
Nice. That's awesome. So tell me, why did you want to sell the business? It was, things were going well, product market fit. What did that decision look like?
Yeah. Things were going great. I had a team of employees eventually. So it was just myself in 2020, grew by on average one per year. Um, and when we were acquired, we had 5 employees. And I really just wanted to prioritize health in the process. So it's obviously a lot of work as a solo founder, bootstrap founder. The reason for the sale was to give myself a bit more time to focus on my health, essentially. So at the end of 2023, I unfortunately had a pulmonary embolism. It's basically like a clot to the lung.
Mm,
And so I was in hospital under critical condition for 7 days. And it was just a bit of a wake up call in terms of priorities. So I really wanted to focus on my my mental health, my physical health, and a part of doing that would be to, start to let go of a few responsibilities.
that makes a ton of sense. What was your knowledge around acquisitions? Did you have any expectations going in? Like, how did you think you would sell the business versus like, did you go and reach out to acquire and you thought it would be a really long process, really short process? Then what was it really like?
Before listing, I used to listen to your podcast. That's why it's such a privilege to now be on one.
Oh, right on.
And I try to learn as much as I could from, the talks that you gave, the founders, tips and things like that. So it was just a preparation process from around the beginning of, I would say mid last year. So mid 2024, there was some prep work that went into it. Then to list on acquire, I mean, expectations were, I didn't really have expectations because it was my first time, but I had a lot more excitement around the fact that there was a marketplace. I had Kai, which is amazing, by the way. He helped me through this entire process, basically hand holding. So things that I just didn't even think of. It was very proactive. I found Acquire being really, really proactive with sharing resources, sharing presentations, slides of a roadmap of the journey, which removed a lot of uncertainty in the process. By week 3, you should expect this, et cetera, et cetera. You should start contacting buyers. These are the type of things you should expect. So it alleviated a lot of the uncertainty.
That's awesome. Do you remember how many buyers reached out or signed NDAs with you?
There were, I think there were about 40 or 50 different NDAs that were signed that initiated the uh, process where you reveal more information to them. So it was about 40 to 50.
Nice. And then how many buyer calls did you set up out of that? Is it just a handful? Was it a couple?
Yeah. Yeah. So I listed, hadn't a letter of intent in 2 weeks. So I only had about
Oh, wow.
10, no, it was probably around eight to 10 calls, from listings. So got the LOI, around 2 weeks after listing. So it happened. That was what was actually more of a surprise to me. I didn't expect it to be that quick, but it was.
That's awesome. Do you remember the types of terms that you got in that original offer? I assume you didn't accept the original offer. Was it an offer down the road that you formally accepted?
Yeah, so I mean, I can't disclose figures or things like that, but essentially when we actually did the final agreement, it wasn't far off the letter of intent. There wasn't a reduction in value that was positive. We stuck to the value. The terms were mutually beneficial to myself and to the acquirers. And yeah, it wasn't. I think we were both had a good relationship in our communications, and we stuck to what we originally agreed upon in principle.
That's awesome. Tell me more about how the acquired team helped you. How did Kai how was working with him? Was there any kind of moments where he really surprised you or would just bring up things that maybe you hadn't thought about for the acquisition process?
For sure. I think especially in the early stages of, helping me with the listing itself. So reviewing the listing, is my evaluation far off? Is it close to what it should be listed as? Helping with the right figure was amazing. With the wording in the actual listing, how it should be structured. Really just assisting with getting the slide decks together, the resources together. It was a very, very consultative process, which I really enjoyed with Kai. And then moving into sort of the process of talking to buyers, having that weekly call of just communicating, chatting through situations, what's going to be best for the company, what's going to be best for me, and then ultimately the buyer as well. So it was really a great having a partner in the process. That was amazing. I don't have a business partner. I'm a solo founder. So, when selling, having someone with experience and having done it before was incredibly valuable.
Awesome. Tell me about, you signed the LOI and then you move into due diligence. How was that process as opposed to your expectations? Was it a really smooth process with the buyer that you sold your business to? Was it much more bumpy and longer than you expected? Tell me about that.
It was a smooth process from the perspective of, getting the LOI done, going into the negotiation phases. I had a complicated sort of deal in that I had three different entities in the mix. So that really made it complex. So from LOI through due diligence, that took it much longer than I thought it would. So that took a lot longer, but it was a very complicated deal at the end of the day.
Gotcha. I'm glad you survived through due diligence. Was there any hiccups at all during the process, or maybe things that you wish you knew before you went into the acquisition journey?
I think so. When you say going into the acquisition journey, do you mean before even contacting acquire, or is this post LOI?
It can be either. Maybe you wish
Okay.
you knew due diligence would require certain things, or maybe you wish you were more familiar with certain deal terms or something like that. You mentioned three entities. Maybe you wish you only had one or something like that. It could be anything.
Yeah, yeah, that is the answer. I think having three different entities, and they were for good reason in terms of handling international clients, payment systems, trademarks, that those sort of things were necessary. Although if I had to do it again, I would keep it far more simple and just stick to one entity for the deal and not in different countries, which also complicated the deal as well. Had an entity in the US, entity in the UK, entity in South Africa,
Oh, wow.
for yeah. So that was I will not do that again. Uh,
Yeah.
it created a lot of legal sort of delays in terms of due diligence because it was basically three companies that needed to be assessed, and it was two asset purchases. Those were okay. Those were a lot quicker, and then the one share purchase, which took a lot of time because they were effectively acquiring the entire company rather than just its asset.
Gotcha. Tell me this, if you could go back in time and give yourself or maybe another founder asked you, your top three tips for, getting acquired, what do you think those would be?
I'm also speaking to myself now. Should I do it again? Now that I'm thinking about it, I would say start with the end in mind. So I think when I started the business, I didn't really have this end goal. It was just to kind of earn an income, get out of my full time job. There wasn't an end goal. So if you're going to start a business, I would definitely say reverse engineer the process. I'm fortunate enough to have been acquired now, and I've gone through the process. Now I know what to plan for. Which documents should be prepared well in advance, what to keep tidy, keep the books tidy, keep everything neat, so that you can be more attractive to a buyer. I think when you have a complicated business, from a legal standpoint, or from just not well documented, it's a little bit less attractive from that perspective. So starting with the end in mind and preparing for it early, even if, in my opinion, you're not intending to sell anytime soon, but just when I've started preparing to sell, I found that I've started putting in more systems into the business to start to remove myself from the business, which is always a healthy thing for scale. So I would definitely say that. Um, and then in terms of other tips for being acquired, I would definitely say think of the buyer as well in the process. So you're selling your business to them. How do you make that attractive to them? Not just from a tidiness standpoint, but are you handing over a burden, or are you handing over like a money maker? You've got to prepare for either or. So I've seen some acquirers speak about buying full-time jobs. So you don't want to hand over a full-time job to them. You want to make sure that the systems are in place so that it doesn't feel like a burden once acquired.
Yeah, that's great advice. 100%. I always say, is your business a liability or is it an asset? Meaning, when someone buys it, are they going to have to fix a bunch of things, or are they going to be able to understand how it works, and can they run the business without being involved in the day to day? Those two businesses will get drastically different valuations. And really, one will sell and one just won't. So that is amazing advice. 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah, that it's a I definitely am grateful for the amount of resources on acquire.com in terms of, these are the things to expect during due diligence. These are the things to expect during your listing, etc. And it's much easier to then prepare for the sale once you know what's to be expected. So thanks to you guys for that.
Right on. Well, again, huge congrats on the acquisition. I'm glad everything, went smoothly. I guess, what's next for you, Ian?
Yeah, so I'm still going to be an advisor to the company that acquired Pluto, which I'm really excited about. It's in a really great space in the AI space. So what was really amazing about the acquisition, so the acquirers, and they're okay with me sharing this. So it's Pete, and they essentially create AI content in learning. So the whole reason for the acquisition was to acquire Pluto. So I'm still going to be working on an advisory role to make sure the systems integrate, etc., at least until the end of the year. And I'm an entrepreneur by heart, so I will be looking to start something while keeping it a little bit more simple next time around.
Right on. Well, I'm ready for you, Ian. If people want to learn more about your story and find you online, where can they find you?
Uh, Definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. So it's Ian Fourie, IANFOURIE. You can connect with me there, send me a direct message, and yeah, would love to chat.
All right. Well, hopefully I can bring you back on the podcast for another time if you ever sell another business with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And appreciate everything.
All right. Cheers, Ian.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew.